I even have some days where I'm at a conference, right? As a partner, I might have to go to a conference, and that conference might require me to get CPs, working with people, or even golfing. So it just varies, but no day is the same as a partner, right? You work, but there's certain segments to enjoy too as well.
I know people talk a lot about working hours in public accounting. And I always tell people that yes, you work a lot when you are lower staff, but when you move up, your working hours will be different. You may not work a lot on preparing the tax return, but you will have more time communicating with the client, face with the client, or like manage the group. And so with all that experience, it's just different hat. You just wear different hats at different level in public accounting. You mentioned about traveling. You mentioned about different countries like Singapore. So that beauty is more for medium size to bigger firm. Is that why you, when you go to public accounting, you want to go with a big size firm instead of going with a smaller size firm?
Yeah, that was one of the instances, right? I was always had the philosophy is, hey, I wanted the medium, right? I didn't want too small. I didn't want too large, right? I think for me personally, some of the smaller firms kind of scared me with family. I was like, I heard some nightmares from some peers, right? And keep in mind, these are my personal discretion and not of the firm. I'll be very honest. I'll disclaim that right now, not of Grant Thornton. This is of Charmone Adams. But for me, the smaller firms kind of scare me because I heard some friends, they would get on and then there would be a particular project and it didn't work out. And then it would be more in line of like, hey, it didn't go as well. So they kind of was a little from that perspective, and then they were looking. So that kind of terrified me a little bit, I'll be honest, of having that small. And then the big was, I had this philosophy, if it's a big firm, and it's too big, then it was like, hey, you would get lost in the sauce, right? So I didn't want too big of a skillet, too big of an organization where I couldn't filter, I couldn't meet and interact with the CEO or even my partners, right? Or direct office management partners. I didn't have that visibility in a big firm. So I wanted the medium size. And I think when I joined Grant Thornton back then, we were only about 42,000 global, right? So we've grown drastically. And then I kind of going with that ride on the wind. So I think for me, it was finding a perfect balance. Not too big, not too small, just that medium size. And then as I embarked on the firm, I learned more about the global offices and so forth. So that's always a pro because a lot of individuals out of college always ask when I'm recruiting, having conversations like, what about international? Is there travel? And I'm just like, well, here's even better. If you want to go to Ireland, you want to go to Seoul, you want to go to Hong Kong, we have that flexibility at our firm and size, right? Being a larger firm to allow you that. So that's always a selling future. And you want something, you and I, you want change sometimes when you're young, right? So those are the type of things that offer and is rewarding.
That's so true. I actually experienced myself that I work at a very small firm, has only like 10 people. And I was like, I didn't like it. It was not a good fit. And I said, okay, I don't like small. And then before that I worked at the national firm. And now it was like international firm as well. And I was like, it's too big. It was too big for me, and then it was too small for me. So now I work at like a medium sized firm and say, okay, I feel a lot better. I feel like I'm not, like as you said, I'm not too little in like in such a big firm that you feel like you're just a number.
Mhm.
That is get lost. You can get lost easily in such a huge firm. So I like
Exactly.
medium size is a good size for people to try to check it out.
No, medium definitely. I would offer anyone to check it out. I think another thing I kind of grasp when it comes to medium, the small you kind of put more right because it's smaller. A lot of people don't know. You kind of figure it out, and you don't have resources. You don't have the people to tap. I think the bigger is just too big. It's just a lot of bureaucracy. You just navigating through it. But the medium, one thing that was for me was I hit the ground running, and it wasn't a overwhelming amount of individuals that were like Charbonne. There's a decent amount, a nice amount of Charmones, but everyone wasn't a Charmone, right? So I was able to leverage my capabilities and say, look, I'm a unique gem, and it allowed me to expedite my career in that
I
perspective.
love that. That's so true. And when you feel like you are it make me feel like special, right? It make you feel like you special, right? So
Absolutely. I felt special. I'm like, you want me? I'm a new manager at the time. I'm like, wait, you want me? Me to go
yeah.
to Miami? I'll go to Miami. Like, when do I go to Miami? You want me to go to London? I'll go to London. So things like that, I felt special where I felt like if it was a bigger firm, they would just pick up the phone and say, we have someone there, right? we don't need you to go. So
Yeah. And so I want to go a little bit deeper for your 11 years at GT. For 11 years there, you move up from associate level all the way to partner. So you have been through a lot of promotions and now you're the top. Like no more promotion. So for each of those promotion, more transition from associate to senior to manager to managing director and to partner or director to partner, which transition you feel the most difficult?
I would definitely say the most transition that probably was the most difficult for me was probably, well, I would say I would speak in terms of myself and I would speak in terms of the normal, right? The normal transition just in general that's difficult people is to go from senior associate to manager and from senior manager to partner, right? Those are the two. And for me, in my case, and well, here's the reason why those two are the senior associate to manager and the partner, senior manager to partner is the most difficult. One, senior associate, you're kind of used to executing, getting work done, being the doer in that shift fashion. And now you have to shift your mindsets from being the person that's executing to kind of now reviewing and being the person to lead, right? You're really building on those core competencies to become the leader. As in, when you were being led, now you're becoming leader, right? And you're working, you're overseeing, you're managing staff. Whereas before you were that staff being managed, right? So that's one of the hardest transitions. Two, you're becoming embarking on how the business, how to develop business, what clientele and so forth is, rather than just being, executing. You're now understanding the ecosystem and livelihood of a firm, right? And then when you go from senior manager to partner, it's similar in nature, but then you have more responsibilities where your senior manager is like, I reviewed it, I submitted it to the partner. Now as a partner, it weighs on you. You are the buck, right? The ball stops on you. You bear the responsibility. And then there's certain segments that you have to do and take full accountability. So that's two of the elements. For me, I feel like when I came in, my years of experience, I was given the flexibility as a senior associate to kind of operate as that manager. So that first 9 months, I was a senior associate for 9 months. So that 9 months before I converted to or got promoted to a manager, I kind of had, that exposure of managing people, reviewing and operating in that manager capacity. That was very helpful for me after that 9 months to 1 year where I was promoted, where I went to manager. It wasn't as that complicated. It was allowed me to streamline that process and then only take about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years as a manager before I was promoted to senior manager. So for me personally, the hardest challenge was from senior manager to partner. And it wasn't a huge amount of challenge because I was kind of operating as a partner as a senior manager, but it was just the reality, and like the ball stops on me. Like, yeah, if I need a deliverable or something needs to be reviewed and it's 11 o'clock at night or whatever, it's on me and I'm staying up to 1 to review it, or I'm working over the weekend to do certain things. So my journey is different, but I would say, like I said, my challenge was really senior manager to partner. But I think the two challenges at any public accounting firm is going from senior associate to manager and senior manager to partner.
I feel like my transition from senior to manager is not that bad because we have a title in the middle. It is supervisor.
Mm.
So being a supervisor, it's just in the middle, like you do less review, but you start partially managing your group now. So when I transition from supervisor to manager, I would say I already did this job this past year. I just need to do review less and managing staff more. So I feel like if we have the chance for my situation or for my firm, when they have that middle, the supervisor position, it's super helpful for people when they transition from senior to manager, so they don't feel like a hiccup. A lot of
Yeah,
hiccup.
it sounds very similar to like our what we call our senior three. Because now that you speak about it, that's kind of what my senior role was. It's like I was kind of supervising people. So when I got the official manager, that's probably why it wasn't as challenging. So it's a lot of correlation there, Rosie.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, that help a lot because a lot of firms they just have a senior and jump to manager and no like senior one, two, or three. It's kind of tough to identify like which level you are in the senior level. So if you don't have like supervisor title but you have one, two, three, it helps full as well. So you know that where you are in the promotion line for the next step. So when you move from senior manager to partner, it was the most challenging transition for you. What did you do to get over that difficulty when you transit in that senior manager to partner?
Yeah, so one of the things I did, I grabbed and held on to a mentor that was already a partner, right? I told you that mentorship is critical, right? I had some mentors that was internal that were already partners, right? So the firm does give you a mentor or a coach that's internal. And then separate from that process, I had another mentor that was part of a different service line, right? Not even advisory, they were more on the audit, so they gave me guidance. But more importantly, I had some mentor partners that were external to my firm. So like some people would look at it as saying, hey, they're competitors, but once you've been around this whole profession, you understand, yeah, if it's a big four or a big six or whatever, you still have a lot of correlation and a lot of good friendships. So I kind of captivated on that segment of interacting with other partners outside of the firms that was kind of a mentor to me and kind of gave me guidance and some feedback on what to do and so forth in interactions, right? So they interacting with all these different segments allow me to be able to develop and get ready to transition, right, from a more of employee to owner mindset and understanding the responsibilities and how to be successful, right? And then keep in mind, you're not perfect. So like if something comes up in the breast, the beautiful thing about a mentor or a colleague that you can interact with is picking up the phone and having a conversation directly with them, right? So I can tell you right now, there's some individuals that retired from our firm, and I still reach out and interact because I'm just a genuine, authentic person. But like if I have questions, I'm certain they would pick up and be able to answer them for me. So
That's amazing that you build relationship within this profession. It's not just within the firm, but it's even outside the firm as well. So that's very helpful. So now as the partner at GT, can you share with us a typical day as being a partner?
yeah, absolutely. No day is the same, right? I mean, I have some days where I'll give you an example, just speaking in terms of me, is like I might have a days where I'm on some calls, some sales calls and so forth, where other new potential clients want to hear about our services and interaction, or I might transition from there to have a session with my team or reviewing a file or looking at some deliverable to make sure we align and the quality is upheld and it's meeting the requirements of what we had planned for within our contract obligations. Or I may be having a coaching session with a young manager or so forth that's starting to give them some coaching advice on what they need to do and some organizations they need to become part of. Maybe reaching out to Rosey and getting on our podcast, different things,
That's a good idea.
different things, just from that perspective. And to be honest, that's one of the beauties, right? No day's the same, and that's what I like, right? I love the fact that my day, I wake up with a calendar or thinking I have something, and that day can be flipped and completely different, right? I even have some days where I'm at a conference, right? As a partner, I may have to go to a conference, and that conference might require me to get CPs, working with people, or even golfing. So it just varies, but no day is the same as a partner, right? You work, but there's certain segments to enjoy too as well.
Yeah, Node is the same at any level in public accounting. Even associate to partners, every day is different. Even if you work in audit, tax advisory, any position, it's just different every single day. So
Isn't
I
that
think that's
great though? It's
that's a
great,
beauty.
right? That's the
Yeah,
beauty,
yeah.
right? Like that's the beauty. It's like you probably wake up rosy with your calendar. I'm gonna do 1 through 5 today, and you're like, I only accomplished 1 through 2, but my day was successful.
I know it's amazing, and it's funny that when I started being a manager, and I was like, "This is 5 things I need to get done today," and sometimes by the end of the day, none of that things in my list is done, but I got other things in the list that is not exist done. But I was like, I still get something done at least, so that's good to go.
The thing about public accounting, right? We drink from the fire hose, as they would say. So you have a priority, and then all of a sudden a fire drill comes up, and that priority that you had just got truncated and moved down the list. But that's the beauty of it. I feel like no day's the same. Again, like I said today, which is I've had calls with clients, I've mentored and had discussions with staff. I've reviewed deliverables. It's just been a fulfilling, rewarding day because it's just a variety of different things, and I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. That's why I say no way I'm going to go back to private
No, no, I'm here to stay until they kick me out.
until they kick you out.
They kick me out. You know? So
Yeah.
partners have that mandatory. Most of them have like a mandatory retirement age. So I'll be here until that time comes.
Well, that's probably still a very long journey for you
Yeah.
until that time comes. So you still have a lot of time to enjoy in public accounting.
I do. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's good. You mentioned you talked to your mentee about which organizations to join. So, which organizations would you recommend young accountants or young CPAs to join?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're talking about a CPA, like if you're pursuing an interest CPA, you have to join the AICPA. AICPA has some phenomenal events and interactions that happen throughout, some is domestically and some is globally, right? They have the Signature Engage event that happens in happens in June. It's normally in Vegas or different places, and you meet a bunch of different professions, but they also have a starter kit where there's a regional type of conference for college students where they can actually interact and get embedded with AICPA on different things and different events and so forth. And it's good to have that network. I would urge anyone out there to just go to aicpa.org or .com and learn more about the different things they have going on. The second organization I would stress CPAs to join is state society. So I'm in New York. There's a New York CPA society. It's phenomenal. Each state has a society because each state you have to get registered for a CPA license. So each state has a society, and there's multiple events and networking and certain things going on with that perspective. I think outside of that, there's another organization that's great called NABA, National Black Association of Accountants. It's really good. They have a lot of different networking and events too as well as all other organizations. I mean, there's a ton of different organizations out there I would stress individuals to get part of because one, that's where you can meet individuals to be mentor, right? I know a lot of these organizations are starting mentorships where you can be connected with a professional, a CPA, whether in public or industry. So that's a good way to get introduced and meet some mentors. Two, it's a good way to begin to develop that community of individuals that are like yourself, peer based, right? That are college students just like yourself, even if they're in different states, or individuals that you look when you accept jobs within different cities and you're embarking on a new journey, you can meet new people. So these are just a couple organizations that are out there that you can embark on.
Yeah, you mentioned about Engage. I went to Engage several years ago, and oh my God, that's a huge conference. So many people, so many events, and so many activities you can join. And it's just amazing what you can do at the Engage AICPA. It's expensive. I would say it's expensive. A little bit pricey, but it's worth it. And I think the one of the best thing I learned from my last Engage experience was AI, like technology. People talk a lot about technologies. I would say not just at Engage, but pretty much at every single accounting conference at this time about what do you do with ChatGPT, what do you do with AI software, with Copilot, all of that development. So as a partner at GT, as a medium-sized firm, what do you see the future of this profession with technologies, with AI?
Yeah, I see the future of this profession still being strong and going strong. I think the one thing we have to change our mindsets of the hardcore accounting, being the older audits and tax and so forth, and really beginning to put on that consultant and advisory lens because longer are the days where you would execute an audit over a huge amount of hours where you can now leverage technology for efficiencies and effectiveness to be able not to get it done faster, but more efficient, right? Why sample a certain population when I can look at the full population, right? Why look at the full population and spend a whole week when I can look at that full population in an hour or less, right? So the end embracing the segment of AI and technology is important for our profession because it's going to allow us to be more efficient, more effective, and then be the forefront of understanding the technology and how it impacts our clients and our day-to-day financials and so forth. That would be beneficial. So if you can stay in front of that embedding, and I don't want to sound like I'm like, understanding the future, but I would say I envision there's going to be some institution out there of higher learning that will do a co-compatible accounting with like a minor or so forth in like AI or technology. Mark my word, because we're going to see this bridge of accountants and technology coming together to better the profession. And I think it's only a matter of time before these institutions of higher earning begin to merge that.
I agree. I feel like a lot of people they concerned about, oh, AI is going to take over this profession. But I feel like if you have two associates who is strong at technical accounting and technical side, they will use AI in different ways, these two people. So it's not going to replace, but it's going to see who going to take advantage of this technology to advance the career. So that's very interesting point for me to see staff now see who's going to use this technology to make their life, their work easier, or who's going to say, I'm good at this, I don't need AI, I don't need technology, I can do all this by myself, but then spend more time, more effort to get it done. So that's very interesting to see how technology affects this profession.
Yeah, and I think people come up with it's going to take over, I'm going to lose. In our firm, we have a saying, hey, it's not going to, it's not going to remove or replace. It's going to enable, right? It's going to
Exactly.
enable us to be in the right places, the right time, to be able to assess, to be able to articulate. All those type of things will allow us to be better, right, in our roles. And we call it, it's going to enable us. It's going to enable us to unlock a lot of different potential and understanding that's going to further and better our clients in the long run. So I think if you take that perspective as an accountant and understanding the technology and how it can enable you and be able to allow you to do your job more efficient and effective, I think that's going to go a long way.
That's true. That's true. And I don't know if that's a bad thing to say on podcast, but I use ChatGPT every day as a tax manager. And it helped me so much instead of spending like so much time before I try to draft a perfect email to send to the client. I just put in ChatGPT. It's pretty good. Give me a pretty good email, and I just make some updates, put client information because we don't want to put client information in ChatGPT. So modify a little bit, and boom, 15 minutes, I got a perfect email I want and send it out. So
It's again, now think about that, what you just talked about, Rosie. Like you did it in 10, 15 minutes, something that could have took you longer. Now
mhm,
you have that time back. You recoup
yeah,
that time back where you can focus and be a lot more efficient in your day to day to add even more value, not just to your profession, but to your life and to the world, right? So that's what it's all about, and that's the purpose of it. And once you understand that, again, it enables. Those enablers is going to be beneficial. So
that's true. It's enable. I like how you put it. Enable. That's a very good way to put it with the technology in the accounting profession. We talked so much about work now, and let's just pivot a little bit about something more fun about your life, about you have two kids now, two sons, and you move from is that Ohio, from Ohio to New York, right? Did you
yes.
move because of family or you move because of work? I'm just because I moved from California to Massachusetts and it was not that fun at the
So,
beginning.
it was a journey, right? I actually moved from Ohio, so from Columbus, Ohio to Washington D.C. area for about 3 years, and then from D.C. to New York. So I moved from Ohio, from Columbus to D.C. Every move was for work, but at the same time it was for my family. So my wife used to live in the Bay Area before she moved to Columbus with me, and she wanted to move to D.C. where her family and sister, and I had some family members out there too as well. So we moved there when I got a role and a position, and we stayed there for about 3 years, got settled, bought a home and everything. And then about 2.5 years in, I was traveling and so forth up to New York and different places. And my wife was like, I always wanted to live in New York. I think DC is good, but I want to live in New York. And I was like, okay. And so I embarked on looking and researching, and I had some friends that was talking about Grant Thornton and how they're growing. And I looked at them, and lo and behold, I moved to New York for Grant Thornton, and I'm still with the firm, and it's been a beauty. At that time, back then, doing the moves, I have one son, right, and then I end up having my second son here in New York about 6 years ago. So it's been a good journey, and I think that's the fuel in a profession of anyone, is having that family and that support too as well.
That's amazing. And so now you are a partner. You have two kids. You have a wife, and you play golf as well, as you mentioned earlier that you play golf. So what do you do beside working, beside being a partner? And which I want to see you as the role of like a husband, father as well. Share with the audience that you in public accounting, you be a partner, but you can also be other roles as well in life.
No, absolutely. I'm a partner, right, in one of the largest firms, but I'm a husband, I'm a father, as you said, and I'm a very engaged father. So I have a lot of activities for my sons. Like I stated, my oldest started high school, so we have a lot of things going on right now with activities, and then my youngest is only in first grade, so we have a lot of interactions with him too as well. So I call myself on the weekend, I'm a part-time Uber driver. So I'm driving everywhere, to this activity, to that activity. So my weekends is kind of cultivated with like my second job of working with my family and driving around and interacting with them was a joy, right? I get my break on the weekends, pick up my second job. So I do that. Outside of that, I do get to go off every now and then. I love working out. I tend to go to the gym at least 4 or 5 times a week. And then in college, I actually was a basketball player. So I still play basketball every Saturday and Sunday. For the most part, I play every week. So that's something I enjoy. And that's where I get a lot of my cardio in, and my me time, I would say, is just playing and getting up and down the court, playing basketball. And then outside of that, enjoying time with family.
Wow. You know what? You had the first job as a partner, but the second job you were a driver. You don't get paid for that.
No. I do not get paid for that. That is my payment. I always tell my kids is like, just be good in school, do what you're doing, and then like when you go to college and so forth, remember to take care of that.
Yep.
As you get older, take care of that. So
That's so funny. My baby is 5 months old now, and my husband
congrats
only
again.
yeah, and my husband was asking him like, "Are you going to take care of me when you get older?" And I was like, "Babe, he doesn't understand what you're asking him now."
Now you understand. Yes, it's like, hey, I'm doing all this for a reason. It's like reverse psychology. I expect you guys to take me when I get older, take care of me. So.
I know, right? I know that's so funny. But it's amazing talking to you today about work, about life, and I appreciate that you share with us a lot of tips and advice, and also your thoughts through your journey. Before we end this interview, do you have any last tips and advice for young professionals to advance in this profession?
No, absolutely. I would say it's, this profession, and more important, the CPA license is definitely 100% worth it. There's going to be people out there that deter you and say, oh, it's not worth it. You don't need it. No, it is certainly most definitely needed, and it's definitely worth it, right? Think about the doors, not necessarily opening, but it's the doors that are closed to you, right? When you have the certification. I've had the luxury of sitting on the AICPA foundational board in the past, and I could tell you, I would have never had that opportunity if I was in a CPA. So I would say continue to grind, continue to put your head down, get it done because it's worth it. And when you're on the other side, you'll look up and see you've had a beautiful journey.
I love that closing. It's a perfect closing. No need to add anything. Thank you so much for your time today to be on the podcast with me.
No, thank you for having me, Rosie. I really appreciate it. And hopefully in the future we'll do this again.
Yeah, for sure.